Right now, everybody is talking about local AI models, and there are two reasons for this. But as often happens with AI stuff, there's a lot of noise and a lot of hype and not so much truth. Local AI models are actually a big deal, or at least they kind of are. It depends on the scenario. But so today we're going to break down why they are important, the best local AI models, what sort of performance you can get compared to running an LLM on the cloud like ChatGPT or Claude, and we'll go through how to actually set up and use a local model. It's everything you need to know in one place. As I mentioned, the two big reasons why everyone is talking about this right now is, first of all, the US government killed all the fun by pulling Claude Fable 5. We could use it for a few days and then it's gone. Then ChatGPT 5.6 drops, except for just kidding, not really, because you can't actually access it. It is only available to specific partners like the government, the same as with Mythos 5. So now everyone's thinking, okay, the government is really putting a heavy hand on regulating AI models. So who really is controlling these? Like, am I going to be able to access the models that I want? And because this is America and people have decided we don't want the US government to put their grubby little fingers on our models, that it would make sense to take them offline, to have models that nobody can take away from you. Then the second reason this matters is because GLM 5.2 recently dropped. It is a Chinese-made open model from a company called Z.AI, but it basically matches the performance of GPT 5.5 or very close to Opus 4.8. But it's about 6 times cheaper. Before, there was this gap where you could get cheaper performance with an open or local model, but it wasn't going to be as good. And now that is basically gone. It's very close to gone. People are thinking, I'll just run it locally, save a bunch of money, and get almost the same performance. So this begs the question, do you actually need to know about local AI models? And there are 4 reasons why you should care, and then one kind of fifth. But real quick, if you're new to the idea of local models, here's how it works. There are certain AI models called open models, which means that anybody can download them and they usually publish their weights, like the inner workings of the model, so anybody can see them. This is different from ChatGPT or Claude. They keep those hidden. The idea with a local AI model is that instead of running it on the cloud, like say using the ChatGPT app, you run it locally on your device. So it could literally be the computer that you are watching this on. It could be a separate Mac Mini that you buy or a bunch of Mac Studios all strung together. And why would you want to run it locally? Well, let's go back to those 4/5 reasons that I mentioned. The first reason is money. If you run it locally, there is no monthly subscription. After you set it up, running it is basically free. Second, there are no rate limits. If you hit those rate limit messages before in Claude or ChatGPT, it's really annoying. Locally, it doesn't happen. Third is privacy. Your data never leaves your computer. Nothing gets logged. These big AI companies have privacy policies in place, but there's always a question of, is this really secure? Because they do have access to all of the data that you type in. And then fourth is it works offline. So say if you're on a plane or internet goes out for some reason, it still works. You don't need internet. Now, the last fifth reason is security, meaning nobody can take your model away. These local models are literally a file. Once you download it, you have it forever. So the government can't come in and say, hey, we're restricting access to this model, short of like the SWAT team breaking into your house. And that's why everybody is talking about this, but I think this is overblown because the thing is, I don't think the government is going to take away access to cloud AI models. That would be crazy. But I think the right way to think about it is like gold. Most people don't actually need gold. You don't have any use for it. But a lot of financial advisors recommend people to put a small amount of their money into gold and to store that physically. So say if something were ever to happen, if the stock market crashed, if there was a bank run, you would still have access to some valuable asset. The risk that happens is very, very small, but just in case, it's worth doing. And I think that's the right way to look at local AI model. You'll probably always be able to use ChatGPT, but just in case, it's worth knowing about this. It's worth knowing how to set it up and to have one. So now you've got the big picture understanding. Let's jump into the actual models. What are the top open models out there that you could run locally? Well, first up, we mentioned it before, is GLM 5.2. This is the best open model out there right now. And the license is super open. You can basically create a company that's like selling GLM 5.2 to people, and that's fine. But it is a massive model, which makes it actually really, really hard to run it locally. If you're on a laptop, there's no way you're going to be able to do it. And the brief idea to understand here is that how good a model is largely correlated to the size of the parameters within the model. So one we're going to look at soon is an 8 billion parameter model, but GLM 5.2 is a 744 billion parameter model. You could still run it locally, but you would need a lot of crazy, like say Mac Studios all linked up together. Think of it like a car, and an engine. The model is the engine and the car is your computer. If you have a massive engine, you need a bigger car to accommodate. Then next up, we've got DeepSeek V4. This one is very budget friendly. It's basically free if you're running the Flash version, and it's really good at reasoning and hard coding. However, it's a little bit weaker at agent and tool use. Then third, we have Kimi K2, where if DeepSeek is really good at the math and reasoning, but not agents, Kimi is kind of the opposite. It's really good on long multi-step tasks. It handles images and video really well. So if you have like structured agentic work to do, Kimi's great for that. Then we have Qwen 3. This is a very important one to know because Qwen has a bunch of like smaller versions of these that will run locally with no problem. So if you have just a normal laptop and you want to run something locally, this is the family of models that I would focus on. Then there's Minimax M3, which is really good for long context. That's all you really need to know there. But then the thing to note about all of these is that they are all Chinese model. If you want something that is not Chinese, fair enough. Then you should go with Mistral DevStral. And then lastly, Gemma is one from Google. It's very tiny, very light, runs on basically any computer. So this is another great one to run locally. So with that, let's talk about what you could actually run. If you are on your laptop, just assuming normal, average laptop, it's free because you already own it. It will run kind of like a 7 to 8 billion parameter model. This will be fine for quick tasks and writing, but rougher on anything really heavy. Then if you wanted to upgrade your laptop, get something better, say you're spending $1,800 for something with 32 gigs of RAM, now you could run like 24 to 30 billion parameter model. This is kind of the floor for actual coding. Now, tons of people are buying Mac Minis. These are very popular right now. Say you spend $2,000 on that, you can run like a 35 billion parameter model. This is kind of the value sweet spot if you really want to run things locally consistently. Then you could get a Mac Studio. That's like the upgraded version of a Mac Mini, costing you $3,500 for 128 gigs of RAM. But now you can run 235 billion parameter models. So this is getting like really big. And then if you really want to go all the way, you can link up a bunch of Mac Studios. Say in total, it's going to cost you $14,000. Now you can run a trillion plus. So this puts you into the range where you could run something like GLM 5.2. And again, you never have to pay any subscription. So it's a one-time cost versus the ongoing monthly costs of Claude or ChatGPT. So if you want to do some quick math, say you're paying $200 a month for a Claude Max subscription. In a year, that's going to cost you $2,400. So if you bought a Mac Mini and ran everything locally on there, it would pay for it within the first year. The thing is, with a Mac Mini, you're not going to be able to get the level of coding ability that you would using Claude in their latest model. But if you got a Mac cluster, then it would just take longer to pay it off. And so that's where it's like, this is cool, but you'll see people on Twitter who are like, oh, I just canceled all my subscriptions and now I just have this Mac cluster that I run. It's like, kind of, I guess, but you'll still be, it takes 5 years for it to break even. So take those with a grain of salt. So how do you actually run a local AI model? It's not as simple as using ChatGPT or Claude. There's not like a GLM 5.2 app that you can just download. But the easiest way to do it is using something called LM Studio. It's basically a big app that lets you run any of these selected open models locally once you download. So just go and search for LM Studio, and then we will download. And the cool thing about LM Studio is that it has basically all of these local models already in it. So you can just find the one you want, download it within there, and then you run it. So once you're here, it'll give you a first model to download. This is actually a great one to use, Gemma 4. But I am going to say skip for now just so you can see kind of the interface. So we're in here and we're going to go over to the left and hit model search. Now I am going to use the same one. So I want Gemma 4. I am going to take their E4B. This is 7.9 billion parameters. So that fits well within a good range for my computer, and I'm going to download it. Now, this will take a little bit, so we're going to skip. So now we finished downloading, and you can see our button here has changed to use in new chat. So I'm going to click that. The model has loaded successfully. And now to show you guys that this is truly like running locally, I'll turn off my Wi-Fi. So we'll go up here. Hi, Gemma. Can you tell me some cool things you can do? And to be clear, this is the exact speed that things are coming out. I'm not speeding anything up in the video, so you guys can see this is exactly how it's like how fast it is. Now you have that. You're good to go. If you love the idea of open models, but you don't necessarily want to run them locally, you can also run these open models on the cloud. So something like GLM 5.2 on the cloud. That does defeat the purposes that we were talking about of like security and stuff like that, but it's good to know about because at the very least they are much cheaper. And the easiest way to do that is a tool called OpenRouter. It lets you route between basically any LLM out there, use all of them. So you'll come here, you'll sign up, I already have, and then you just go to their chat feature up here. And then if you go up here and hit add model, we can search for what model we want to use. So I'm going to search for GLM 5.2 and I'll select it. And now I can talk to it and say, hi GLM, can you tell me some interesting stuff you can do? Now this is not running locally, this is running in the cloud, but it makes it so that I can access some of these bigger open models. If you don't want to run this in LM Studio, say you're a bit more technical, you want to run it straight from terminal, the easiest way to run models locally is with Ollama. So you open up terminal and do brew install Ollama. And then once you've installed Ollama, it's sort of like a built-in app store for all of the local models. Same way LM Studio is. LM Studio is just an app. Ollama is within the terminal. And then once it's installed, you just paste something like Ollama run whatever model you want. So that's how you set it up. If you need the best AI possible for your work, you should still use a cloud model, in my opinion. Local models just aren't there yet, and you do need a lot of hardware in order to run them. But as a hedge to have one of these models in case you ever need to run something locally, and just to have a cool side project to know how to do this, get a little bit deeper into the world of AI, I would highly recommend that. It's totally free to run one of these, and it's an awesome thing. It takes you maybe 10, 20 minutes to learn, get this set up, and then you're good to go. So it's not so much doom and gloom, but it is good to know about. That's all I got. I'll see you next time.